Democracy only works when the population is educated and rational. Educated people are harder to lie to. They think, they analyze, they demand real solutions, and that's why politicians who target them have a much harder job. If your audience is educated, you have to perform. You have to come up with real solutions to extremely complex global problems. But prosperity for everyone isn't easy to achieve. Navigating international relations, managing economies, and ensuring security, it's all incredibly difficult. Winning over educated voters requires hard work, real policies, and actual results. And that makes it 10 times harder to stay in power. On the other hand, when your target audience is the uneducated, destructive, and easily manipulated, you don't need solutions. You just have to deliver slogans. Promise the impossible. Lie as much as you want. Tell them you'll fix everything overnight. Offer them fantasy, and they'll follow you. A politician can promise to end the Ukraine war in 24 hours, or build a wall and make someone else pay for it, and millions will believe it, without questioning how. Why? Because the uneducated don't follow up. They don't track whether promises are actually kept. They move on to the next slogan, the next illusion. There's no accountability with these voters. They reject facts from well-known doctors and scientists, but believe random Facebook posts written by some teenager named Epic Destroyer 420, a guy sitting in his basement, chugging energy drinks and posting conspiracy theories between rounds of Call of Duty. They ignore statistics proving Democrat presidents historically deliver more jobs, lower inflation, and stronger economies. Instead, they vote based on emotion, conspiracy, or simple hate. They don't want to fix the world, they want to burn it down. The reality is that even educated people can fail. Hardworking, intelligent people can still miss the bigger picture. Look at Nokia, a company built by smart, disciplined Finns. They worked hard, but they failed to see the market shift and lost everything. Even Britain and France, two highly educated nations, failed to prevent World War II. They had all the knowledge, all the resources, but they still miscalculated. Being smart isn't enough. Even the best minds can make mistakes. Even good projects can fail. But here's the difference. At least they tried. They didn't fall for fantasies. They didn't set out to destroy. They worked, they built, they contributed. And that's why an educated society, flawed as it may be, it's still the only hope for democracy. Because when the ignorant rule, destruction is guaranteed. Democracy thrives on critical thinking, independent reasoning, and informed decision-making. The higher the level of education, the stronger the democracy. Educated people question, analyze, and resist manipulation. They read, they think, they debate. They don't blindly follow slogans or fall for cheap lies. An uneducated population, on the other hand, is easy to deceive, easy to control, and to exploit. If we want a functioning democracy, we must first ensure that people are capable of understanding the system they are voting for. Not everyone should have the right to vote by default. In every aspect of life, we require proof of competence, except in elections, where the stakes are the highest. To drive a car, you need a license. To install plumbing, you need certification. Yet to vote on the future of an entire nation, no qualifications required. This is a fundamental flaw. A functioning democracy cannot allow mentally unstable, destructive, or severely irrational individuals to make critical national decisions. People who are unfit to function in society should not be allowed to decide its future. Every voter should pass a psychological evaluation to ensure they are capable of rational decision-making. Voters should also demonstrate basic knowledge of how the political system works. What are the roles and responsibilities of the president, parliament, and local government? How does the economy function? What rights and obligations come with democracy? If a person cannot answer these questions, how can they be trusted to vote responsibly? All these fundamentals should be taught in school, but learning is not enough, it must be tested. At the end of the high school, every future voter should be required to pass an exam proving they understand these core principles. Only those who pass receive a voter certificate, the key to participating in elections. No one should have the right to vote without proving they understand the society they live in. A person who doesn't know how their government works shouldn't be deciding its future. Just as every profession requires some level of certification, voting should require proof of understanding. Without it, elections become nothing more than a game of manipulation where ignorance decides the future. Yes, implementing such a system would be expensive, but losing democracy costs far more. The price of letting unqualified, clueless leaders run a country is catastrophic. A nation led by incompetence doesn't just decline, it collapses. Economic ruin, social instability, corruption, war. History has proven that the cost of failure is always higher than the cost of prevention. A bankrupt country is 100 times pricier than a system that ensures only informed, capable citizens have the power to decide its future. We either invest in democracy or we pay the price of losing it. Democracy is about building a society together. If you don't contribute, why should you have a say in how it is run? Voting should require proof of active participation, whether through work, paying taxes, studying, or serving the community. If a person has not worked, paid taxes, or studied in the past 2-3 years, then why should they have an opinion on policies that affect workers, taxpayers, and students? Voting is a privilege, not a free handout. A person who refuses to contribute should not have the power to decide the fate of those who do. With psychological evaluations, knowledge-based tests, and proof of contribution, we would eliminate the uninformed, the manipulable, and the destructive from the voting process. This would drastically improve the quality of democratic decisions and protect society from being hijacked by incompetence and extremism. If a regular citizen needs a license to drive a truck, why is no proof of competence required to run an entire country? I need 4 interviews to get a regular job, but to become a mayor, a senator, or even president, no interview, no exam. No proof of intelligence or competence. Just money, connections, and a few important backers. How is this acceptable? A judge or a lawyer must study for years, pass rigorous exams, and prove in-depth knowledge of the law. Why should a politician who will write and enforce those laws not have to do the same? In reality, the best liars usually win elections. The ones who promise the most impossible dreams, who manipulate the ignorant, who say what people want to hear, not what is real. This needs to change. Becoming a politician should be one of the hardest things in the world. If you aim to run a country, you should have to pass the toughest exam. One that tests your knowledge of economics, history, law, international relations, crisis management, and governance. Because when incompetent people run a country, everyone pays the price. The media should be legally required to combat disinformation. Lies influence elections, and unchecked propaganda empowers populists who manipulate the masses. Policy must be driven by science, not religious dogma. Teaching children to pray for rain instead of explaining meteorology cripples their ability to think. Highly religious people, by definition, spend their lives waiting to be saved. They are taught to obey, not to question. They do not evaluate ideas critically, nor do they challenge the sanity of what they are told. For them, truth is not discovered, it is given. Their reality is dictated by someone else, making them easy prey for manipulators who promise salvation in exchange for blind loyalty. Use blockchain-based voting apps, secure, transparent, and verifiable. No more secret ballots. People should be proud of their vote. Why hide it? What do you have to hide and why? A fully transparent system prevents fraud and manipulation. In a non-democratic society, I understand why people must hide their vote. Like in Russia, where admitting you didn't vote for Putin could get you punished or killed. But in the civilized world, every citizen should be able to express their opinion openly. Politicians should be evaluated throughout their term, not just every 4 years. In ancient Greek democracy, non-performing politicians were expelled regularly. Today, the worst ones skip parliament, spread hate, and collect paychecks for doing nothing. There should be laws to automatically dismiss absentee and non-performing politicians. Major national decisions should not be made by a slim 51% majority. Look at Brexit. Now 55–56% regret it. Such critical choices need overwhelming support, not a coin flip. On the other hand, unanimous voting in large democracies is suicidal. The EU's inability to act decisively comes from the need for total agreement, even when certain member states like Hungary actively sabotage it for foreign interests. No system should allow a few bad actors to paralyze an entire union. A society where 1% of the population controls 90% of the wealth is unsustainable. These elites influence politics, own the media, manipulate social networks, and fund politicians who serve them. The ultra-rich must be taxed more aggressively to reduce their disproportionate control over democracy. A system where billionaires like Musk can buy platforms like X to shape public discourse is not a democracy. It's an oligarchy. Now let's be honest, none of these changes will ever be supported by politicians. Why? Because the system is rigged in their favor. Those in power benefit from the ignorance of the masses. They don't want smarter voters, tougher qualifications or accountability. They want a system where the best liars win. And let's face it, even the public won't like these ideas, because real democracy isn't just about voting, it's about responsibility. And most people don't want responsibility. They want easy answers, simple slogans, someone to blame, and someone to save them. But what do you think? What other ideas do you have for improving democracy? How would you fix this broken system? Or do you even believe it can be fixed? I'm waiting for your comments. Perhaps democracy won't die in an explosion. Maybe it won't collapse overnight. But if nothing changes, it will rot until one day we wake up and realize we lost it.